You can't be serious. Marcus stared at me across our kitchen island, his coffee cup frozen halfway to his mouth. You're leaving Apex Tech for what? Some pipe dream startup. I stood my ground, gripping the resignation letter in my hand. It's not a pipe dream. I've been developing this software for 2 years. The prototype works. The market research is solid. Market research? He laughed, sharp and dismissive. Olivia, you're a product manager, not a CEO. Do you have any idea how many startups fail in their first year? My name is Olivia Chen, and at 35, I was about to walk away from a comfortable 6-figure job to pursue something I'd been building quietly, nights, weekends, and stolen hours. Something that could revolutionize how small businesses manage their operations. Something my husband apparently thought was a joke. I know exactly how many fail, I said evenly. And I know why. I've planned for every contingency. Marcus set his cup down with a sharp click. Have you planned for when you burn through our savings? When you can't make the mortgage payments on this house? I'm not touching our joint savings. I've built my own fund for this, and I've already secured seed funding. That got his attention. His head snapped up, eyes narrowing. Seed funding? From who? Victoria Martinez, your old college roommate? The one who inherited her father's venture capital firm. He scoffed. This gets better and better. So you're not just risking everything on a whim, you're doing it with nepotism money. Heat flushed my face. Victoria invested because she believes in the product. She's seen the prototype, unlike you, since you've never bothered to look at what I've been working on. It was true. For 2 years I'd worked late into the night testing and coding, turning our home office into a makeshift development studio. Marcus never asked questions, assuming I was just putting in overtime for Apex. Fine. He stood, straightening his designer tie. Throw away your career. But don't come crying to me when it all falls apart. And don't expect me to bail you out. He grabbed his briefcase and headed for the door. Pausing, he added, you'll be back in 6 months, begging for your old position. Mark my words. The door slammed behind him, leaving me alone in our expensively furnished kitchen. Sub-zero refrigerator, Italian marble countertops, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the skyline. Symbols of success. But whose success? I pulled out my phone and called Victoria. Ready to change the world? She asked on the first ring. More than ever, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. The startup. The next weeks were a blur. I resigned from Apex, ignoring the pitying looks from colleagues who'd heard I was leaving to start my own company. I secured a modest office space. Nothing fancy, just fast internet and room for the small team I planned to build. Marcus's attitude shifted from dismissive to cold. He stayed late at work, missed dinners, treated me like I'd already failed. One night he tossed a newspaper onto the dining table. Thought you might find this interesting. The article described a failed startup, its founder bankrupt and facing lawsuits. Marcus smirked. I pushed the paper aside without comment. I wasn't going to let him shake me. Victoria proved to be more than just an investor. She was a mentor, a sounding board, a guardrail when I wanted to rush ahead. When doubt hit, she reminded me why we'd started. Your husband's an idiot, she told me bluntly one morning. He can't see past his ego to recognize what you're building. 3 months in, I hired my first employees. Rod, a brilliant developer from Google, and Sarah, a marketing wizard who instantly grasped our vision. The office buzzed with possibility. The day we launched our beta, Marcus didn't come home. At midnight he texted, working late. Don't wait up. I didn't tell him about the 50 businesses that signed up on launch day. It wasn't all smooth sailing. Our first major bug kept me in the office for 48 straight hours. When I finally came home, Marcus didn't look up from his phone. Having fun playing entrepreneur? I saw Amy from Apex today. Your old position's still open. Just saying. I ignored him. What he didn't know was that while he mocked me, our beta users were raving. Small business owners were calling the platform a game changer. 6 months later, Marcus's 6-month deadline came and went. Instead of crawling back to Apex, I was closing our Series A round, $50 million at a $100 million valuation. The morning of our biggest pitch, Marcus finally asked about the company. He'd seen something online, our name in a startups to watch list. So, how many users do you actually have? He asked, trying to sound casual. I looked at him over my coffee. Enough, I said simply and left for my meeting. That night, a news alert flashed on my phone. Quantum Solutions announces 30% workforce reduction. Marcus's company. Moments later, a text from him. We need to talk. I stared at the message, remembering every snide remark, every dismissal. His world was crumbling just as mine was taking off. I stayed in my office instead, watching our dashboard tick past 10,000 active businesses with a 98% retention rate. Victoria called. You saw the news about Quantum? Yes. Marcus texted. He wants to talk. She was quiet for a beat. You know he's going to ask for a job. I know. I leaned back in my chair. I haven't decided yet. Full circle. The next morning I went home to change. Marcus was waiting at the kitchen island, where this had all started. But the confident man in a designer suit was gone. Rumpled, uncertain, he looked small. Liv, he used my old nickname for the first time in months. About last night. You got laid off, I said, heading for the coffee maker. He nodded, running a hand through his disheveled hair. Half my department. No warning, no real severance. They said it's market conditions, but really. Quantum failed to innovate, I finished. Got comfortable. Thought they were too big to fail. Sound familiar? He flinched. Look, I know I haven't been supportive. But I've been thinking your company. It's doing well, isn't it? Really well. I poured my coffee slowly, letting the silence stretch before answering. We're closing Series A next week. 50 million at 100 million valuation. His eyes widened. The numbers were bigger than he'd imagined, I could tell. That's impressive. And you're expanding, right? Looking for experienced executives. And there was. Not an apology. Not an admission that he'd been wrong. Just an assumption that now that he needed something, all would be forgiven. We are hiring, I said carefully. But I'm not sure you'd be a good fit. Not a good fit? Marcus stood, anger flashing across his face. I have 15 years of experience in tech. I've managed teams bigger than your entire company. Exactly. I met his gaze, steady and unflinching. You're used to a different world, Marcus. One where success means maintaining the status quo. Where innovation is just a buzzword in quarterly reports. That's not fair. Isn't it? I cut him off. Tell me, in all the time I was building this company, did you once ask to see what I was working on? Did you ever consider that maybe, just maybe, I knew what I was doing? He fell silent. Our company culture is built on respect, innovation, and actually listening to our customers instead of dictating what they need. Can you honestly say you embody those values? I can learn, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Like you learned to support your wife? To believe in her dreams. I shook my head, grabbed my bag, and walked toward the door. Then I paused. You know the funny thing? If you'd believed in me from the start, you probably would have been my co-founder. We could have built this together. Instead. His voice cracked. Instead, I said, turning to face him one last time, I built something better than I ever imagined, precisely because I didn't have you holding me back. The next week our series of funding closed. Oversubscribed. The tech press called us the next big thing in business software. User growth exceeded every projection. We moved into an entire floor of a downtown high-rise with sweeping views of the bay. Marcus moved out of our house that same day. I need space to figure things out, he muttered. But we both knew the truth. He couldn't live with my success. He couldn't bear the daily reminder of how wrong he'd been. 3 months later I received divorce papers. The very same day Forbes ran an article about us. From $0 to $100 million. How Olivia Chen is revolutionizing small business software. Victoria framed the article and hung it in my office. Consider it a divorce present, she said with a grin. That evening my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Congratulations on Forbes. I was wrong about you. About everything. I started to reply, then stopped. What was there to say? His validation no longer mattered. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. Raj, our first hire and now CTO, stepped in. The new feature's ready for testing. Want to take it for a spin? I smiled, setting my phone aside without replying to Marcus. Show me what you've got. As Raj walked me through the updates, I thought about how far we'd come. From a so-called pipe dream to a $100 million company. From a team of 3 to over 100 employees. From being dismissed by my husband to being featured in Forbes. The real victory wasn't proving Marcus wrong. It was proving myself right. 1 year later. At our first anniversary celebration, I stood on stage looking out at hundreds of employees, bright, passionate people who had chosen to believe in our vision. Behind me, slides displayed our latest numbers. 100,000 plus businesses using our platform. $150 million annual recurring revenue. Offices in 3 countries. Success isn't about proving critics wrong, I told them. It's about proving believers right. Every small business owner who trusted us, every employee who took a chance, every investor who saw our potential, you made this possible. After the ceremony, Victoria handed me an envelope. Inside was a clipping from the Business Journal. Quantum Solutions files for bankruptcy. Former executives face scrutiny. Karma's a funny thing, she said with a smirk. I tucked the clipping away without comment. Marcus's downfall wasn't my concern anymore. I had a company to run, employees to lead, and customers to serve. That evening, as I walked through our new offices, I passed the wall where we'd painted our company values. At the very top was the one I'd chosen first, the one that mattered most. Believe in possibility. I thought of the woman I had been 2 years earlier, standing in her kitchen with a resignation letter while her husband laughed at her dreams. She believed in possibility even when no one else did. And that had made all the difference.